it's finally spring, and I figured it was time to come and get some salt blocks out, maybe a couple cameras here and there. Last year, after the season, I went out and around after the first snowstorm and drove a lot of dirt roads, took the ATV out, drove a lot of trails, did a lot of e-scouting on GONB, and I ended up finding a pretty cool spot. Followed this trail down in here. It's a bit of a wet run, and it seems like a main trail where they're crossing, and I had deer here every time there was a south wind in December. There was deer here, and it kind of makes sense the way it's laid out. It's just quite a wet area that I don't think they're crossing further up, and they're mainly crossing here. There's also a few moose around, which is kind of neat. So I figured I'd come in here and get the salt out. You can see where they're crossing, a little wet run here, and they get it beat right down, the moose and everything, all the way up through the woods here. Unfortunately, I think this is going to get cut probably in the next year or two, which kind of sucks, but that's just the nature of being in New Brunswick. Everywhere is going to get cut eventually, and where these animals are, it's probably one of the last mature pieces around, and they're definitely wintering here. Now, finding all that sign in December doesn't mean that they're going to be here during hunting season, but it lets me find a spot where I can scope around, and they're not going to be too far away. There was a few young deer, one pretty decent looking one, not too far away, probably 2 or 3 kilometers. I found another good trail, and they crossed basically every day except for I think 3 days in December. Again, that's probably toward winter patterns, but at least it let me see what was around. No huge giants, but that doesn't mean that they're not around. It's pretty secluded. I don't think there's anybody else hunting anywhere close to this. Anyway, figured I'd just do a little video on finding deer in New Brunswick. Main thing I look for is just trying to find some type of a terrain feature that's going to make them pass by. A lot of people just go out and throw apples down willy-nilly. Yeah, sure, you might get a couple spike horns here or there, might get lucky and get a nice deer, but personally, when I'm setting up a tree stand, especially with bait, you definitely want to have them coming through some type of a funnel or a travel corridor of some sort that you know that they have to go by, so you can kind of plan around that. It's just a time commitment of hunting them is the biggest thing, and I think that's the biggest hurdle for everybody. So by running lots of cameras and looking at last year's data, I try and figure out what area is going to be best spent for the time that I have off. Anyway, that's about all I got to say on this one. It's nice to finally be out walking around with no snow in the woods and start doing some fishing and getting some cameras out. Before I know it, it'll be hunting season again. Anyway, thanks for watching.